Welcome to Digication Scholars Conversations. I'm your host, Kelly Driscoll. In this episode, you'll hear part one of my conversation with Abby Crew, Assistant Dean of Academic Planning, Assessment and Improvement, Curriculum Review and Innovation at Colorado Mountain College. More links and information about today's conversation can be found on Digication's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Full episodes of Digication Scholars Conversations can be found on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Welcome to Digication Scholars Conversations. I'm your host, Kelly Driscoll, and today I am so pleased to introduce Abby Crew. Abby Crew is Assistant Dean of Academic Planning, Assessment and Improvement at Colorado Mountain College, Curriculum Review and Innovation. Welcome, Abby.
Thank you.
Did I get that all right?
You did. It took me 1 year of reading my email signatures to memorize my title.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I thought it would be fun to just kind of kick things off for our listeners and learning a little bit about what your role at CMC entails.
Well, my 8-word title has been tagged on to as well. So I am also the project manager for our Compass Initiative. And our Compass Initiative is our strategic alignment between academic affairs and student affairs. And what's really exciting about Digication and our partnership with Digication is that we were looking at first-year experience and realized that we have 11 different campuses. We're a dual mission institution. A third of our scholars are dual enrollment, so they're high school concurrent enrollment students. About a third of our learners are also multilingual learners. So we were really struggling to find a first-year experience that met everyone's needs because we don't have a one-size-fits-all clientele. And so we couldn't craft a one-size-fits-all first-year experience either. So Digication gave us this opportunity to capture the CMC experience through ePortfolio. So we are weaving that into our holistic advising efforts and really helping students see themselves within their scholarship and see their journey both within and beyond the classroom into job placement. And Digication has been really influential in that endeavor.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I know your school is pretty new in its use of ePortfolios. Are you still kind of considering where you are in kind of that pilot phase, or have you expanded from that initial kind of endeavor? Let us know kind of where your school is in that implementation.
We are in year 2 of our pilot program, and we were able to extend the pilot another year because of the Cora launch. And so we're really excited to pilot the assessment on the back end of the Cora build with our brand new institutional student learning outcomes. So our student learning assessment committee will be able to utilize the AAC&U rubrics that align with our institutional student learning outcomes as they apply to the student artifacts within the ePortfolio. So that's what we will be piloting this year specifically.
Nice. And I love having institutions that are kind of newer in these ePortfolio pursuits come and speak to us about the experience, because it's so fresh, kind of where you are in the beginning stages. And I would love to just hear a little bit about, how did this all begin? What kind of spurred the interest? I know your institution's been working really diligently in incorporating more high impact practices into various classrooms. How did ePortfolio really become part of the discussion?
It's a great question, because our journey began with the High Impact Practice Institute with AAC&U. And as I alluded to earlier, we went in doubling down on our first year experience as our high impact practice, and then quickly pivoted to ePortfolio to capture that CMC experience. So our journey began with high impact practice investigation and the ways in which ePortfolio can really capture that for the myriad experiences from certificate to bachelor's that our students pursue at Colorado Mountain College. We have subsequently attended the AAC&U ePortfolio Institute. That is a year-long pursuit. We also attended the AALHE assessment conference last year, where LaGuardia Community College were celebrating their work. And, all signs pointed to Digication, so we had to give it a go.
Well, we always love to hear that. But tell us a little bit about the AAC&U ePortfolio Institute experience, because I know there may be some listeners that are taking part in it right now. There may be some listeners that have been thinking about it, and I think that there's probably some listeners like yourselves that participated in it and are now in this kind of pilot phase or getting things off the ground. So tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for your institution.
So what's remarkable is that you get to ideate with colleagues who are in the same morass. And so I really appreciate AAC&U creating the space for us all to explore and strive and fail and explore some more. And so we were invited to present at the ABLE conference, and part of that preparation was creating a journey map. And I was like, well, we haven't really done that much. And then I went through the exercise of actually creating this journey map and was like, oh my gosh, we have done so much in a year. And this journey map has actually been celebrated and shared at Board of Trustees meetings and Academic Council throughout the institution, because we have done a lot of work in a short amount of time with an expert coach who has also made a lot of mistakes, and we learn from those, and it sets us ahead 5 years, and in collaboration with other institutions who have similar stumbling blocks. And so we kind of pick each other up and say, this worked at our institution, this didn't work, so don't try that, or maybe try that, but no, this might be, an impediment that's coming. So we get to collaborate and ideate on innovative strategies that are truly change makers in the institution of higher ed. And that's exciting. It's empowering and it's energizing. And sometimes change can be defeating. And we all know that. So we get to pick each other back up.
Yeah. And you're really, starting to get this off the ground, I think, at a time where a lot of institutions would say, oh, our faculty are just exhausted. How could we ask them to do something different right now? So how do you feel like it's been positioned in such a way, your institution, where it does feel like it's more of an exciting opportunity for faculty versus something that is just kind of one more thing that they have to learn in the midst of everything else going on in their lives?
Sure. And I think faculty fatigue and initiative burnout and all the other COVID has changed everything. It's a coalition of the willing. So certainly there is no top-down mandate that faculty need to embed ePortfolio. We were really actually hoping that the change agents themselves were students celebrating their work and championing this practice at CMC. It's really a gift that we're able to offer students, both in terms of the artifact that they can take into their job interviews, but also the folio thinking that it cultivates in a scholar to be able to connect what they're learning in a math class and articulate in an interview how that sets them apart as a candidate. So that folio thinking really is a gift. And so again, faculty have the opportunity to opt in. We embed a tutor in any class that has Digication for some technical assistance. We actually have some student scholars who are going to help us as well, student work study. Last year was our inaugural student symposium to showcase the work of students in ePortfolio, and that was remarkably well received. And finally, we started the change making through a 4-question short form reflective assessment practice that asks faculty to connect what they're seeing from their student artifacts, how they connect to our institutional student learning outcomes, and then reflecting on how successful or not the case may be and what supports they may
Mhm.
need. So we've had a couple of different nodal points in this culture shift, beginning with the 4-question short form, kind of moving away from box checking assessment to more authentic assessment, and
Yeah.
then connecting our new institutional student learning outcomes to that authentic assessment through ePortfolio. So it's kind of like win-win-win. We also have holistic advisors who are championing this work. We can invite students to share who they are, why they're coming to our institution, what they
Yeah.
hope to get out of our institution prior to even meeting an advisor, and then reflecting on the work that they were able to demonstrate in their first semester, and then in subsequent semesters in this ePortfolio, this kind of living transcript, if you will.
Oh, I love this. And I hope some folks that might be considering doing a pilot are madly taking some notes on this because you've clearly learned some really wonderful best practices, from having it something where faculty members can opt in versus it being something that's mandated or top down, having tutors that are inserted into the classrooms already that just automatically removes hurdles for faculty members that may not feel like they're ready to demonstrate the actual technology, the use of the student mentors. All of this is just um, clearly been beneficial for your students. I mean, when you look at the quality of the ePortfolios that are already starting to be created 2 years in at your institution, you can tell that you've got real faculty engagement and commitment to the cause. So thank you for sharing that. Um, as the faculty members are kind of opting into this experience, what kind of resources are they given to kind of prepare for integrating this type of pedagogy or technology into their practice? I love that you started with some reflective questions that they're responding to, because it sounds like, in terms of assessment and maybe choosing what kinds of artifacts or student experiences their students might add to the portfolio, they're starting with something that they're already doing. Right, they're doing the work in their classrooms already. It's just about capturing that. But how do you kind of take them from those initial reflective questions to then kind of putting it into that day-to-day practice that they're having in their classrooms?
We have a number of different resources. I was like a traveling library whenever I was going to the different campuses, and I was like, we have all these books. So we have that. I also have a Canvas page that I can
Mhm.
add. So we use Canvas as our learning management system, and I have added faculty to that Canvas page. And so they have access to all of the resources that I have created, and those resources include a onboarding checklist, like, email our learning management systems specialist to have Digication added to the tab so it's single sign-on, and, then embed the tutor and, step-by-step instructions there. I've also I added a transparency in teaching and learning assignment for Digication that I shared, and I just worked on one for the advisors actually as well. So um, uh, making accessible all of the resources that have been created. So faculty can not start from scratch, but kind of ideate from what is already in existence, and just being really intentional about connecting, like you said, what's already happening in their classroom with our institutional student learning outcomes, which I will also add align with our Gen Ed core curriculum.
Mhm.
And those outcomes come straight down from the Community Colleges of Colorado system that we
Mhm.
adhere to those agreements. And so those Gen Ed outcomes are embedded in our institutional student learning outcomes. So it's all like very intentionally nested. So
Yeah.
it's not additive, it's embedded. And our job is to make transparent what all students are learning when they create a final project, right? Like that's
Right.
that's what we're doing. So I have transparency in teaching and learning frameworks for the students, but I'm doing a lot of that for our faculty as well, right? Connecting those dots.
Wonderful. Okay, great. And I was curious, so from the maybe the initial goals that you had when you were starting the pilot, what some of those might have been, and with this next, phase that you're in, how have those evolved at all, or what maybe are some new goals now that you've gotten to the place where you are?
Great question. I think that we started at the course level with our
Mhm.
goals, and that was just to get the pilot off the ground. And I think our new goals are to move from course level. We have some programs that are super excited, and you probably saw some of those artifacts. Our outdoor leadership students are taking selfies of themselves hanging
They're
off
busy.
mountains, and they're really excited about it. And again, this is program level assessment, and the faculty are equally excited about iterating what that assessment cycle looks like and leveraging Digication here to the institutional level assessment. So that I think is what we're really focusing on in this second year pilot, moving from course level to program to institution.
Yeah. And I also noticed, in looking at some of the student e-portfolios in preparation for our conversation today, that there's a number of really wonderful e-portfolios that are being created in more STEM oriented disciplines. And I know sometimes in conversations with institutions, we'll hear from maybe the humanities, liberal arts, writing programs that immediately see a good fit for ePortfolios. But there's sometimes other disciplines that feel like they don't have a good fit for any reason. And it seems like at your institution that those that are in STEM related kinds of fields and study have just really grasped this. Has there been anything about your conversation with faculty members in those disciplines that you feel like may have shaped that? Or is it just the culture of the institution that just seems so prime for this kind of pedagogy?
It's certainly faculty driven, I will say. Our program director for our ecosystem science and stewardship program is a faculty champion in ePortfolio,
Mhm.
and she's really driven the portfolio engagement. I think probably those genetic students that you were seeing in that
Mhm.
project. And our outdoor leadership studies faculty are also really excited. And it speaks, I had many conversations with our program director for outdoor leadership, and he just shared like how an e-portfolio speaks to his students. They don't want to write a paper about, whatever they were doing in the wilderness. They want to take a picture of themselves, and then they want to say, in a caption, the cool stuff that they were doing. Like that just speaks to their heart and
Yeah.
mind more. And so it's really exciting to be able to capture this learning in a multimodal way.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanna be outside. They wanna
Mhm.
be in the field and, really capturing those things in the moment. So, that makes a lot of sense. So, for those listening, I warned Abby that I did spend some time looking at her own personal portfolio before hopping on this podcast with me. And there was an area of the portfolio that I really enjoy. I mean, I enjoyed reading the whole thing, but I did want to highlight some of the goals that you outlined there. You're probably, trying to think what you said there, but you said that your goal is to ensure higher education is welcoming and equitable for all students, and that you're striving to inspire innovation and passion for learning and improvement among your colleagues and students. And I was wondering if you could maybe elaborate on that a little bit and talk more about, because you're doing so many things at the college right now. Um, you know, it, and from looking at your portfolio and looking at all of the things that you're doing, I get a sense of this kind of incredible passion that you have for education and also for your students and their futures. And I would love to hear a little bit about how some of the things that you're doing at the college are kind of meeting those goals, or you feel like are helping you start to get to achieving those goals.
I had 17 eager learners in my sociology of diversity class yesterday, and it was energizing. So it was our first class of the fall semester, so that was exciting.
Yeah.
And so I think how I'm really a champion for high impact practices across the institution, and being able to move the needle there has been very meaningful. We know that high impact practices work. We also know that they work at CMC, and that's what's really exciting for us. We have some robust internal data about increased persistence rates for our students who are exposed to high impact practices. So making sure that faculty are feeling supported, that they have the information that they need, that they have the support to embed a high impact practice in their class is really important. And the more that we're able to champion this work and celebrate this work and support this work, the more our students thrive. And that's what's so very important for me. The other kind of fire that fuels my belly is around the institutional student learning outcomes that we just updated, and really making relevant and transparent what we call outcomes, competencies, and skills that our students get from certificate programs to bachelor's programs. So we don't have a distinction at our institution from career and technical education are only expected to demonstrate hands-on skills in our 4-year bachelor's programs, engaging critical thinking. We don't believe in that. We believe that every learner at Colorado Mountain College can demonstrate knowledge, involvement, and application upon graduation from any program. And I think that really kind of democratizes higher education. It also makes relevant higher education from our welders to our bachelors in sustainability and more kind of theoretical programs. And it makes for a workforce that has skills for the future that I really think are imperative, from critical thinking to oral communication to being able to work with a diverse population. And so, from the 17 students in my class to the faculty champions to the systems in place, we kind of can scale out how impactful higher education is and how important the work that we are doing and the articulation of that work we are doing keeps me coming back every day.
I love it. And it seems like whenever you're kind of setting out to do something that you have a real kind of mind for, and I'm sure this is in collaboration with others often as well, but a real mind for kind of developing kind of a scaffold or very clear kind of strategic plan for step by step, what various stages are and how they can happen and what the various goals are at each of those stages. And I enjoyed seeing some of the presentations that you shared within your personal ePortfolio that were housed under a particular tab called Knowledge, Involvement, and Application. And it sounds like that is a kind of common language that's used throughout the institution. And are those knowledge, involvement, and application kind of categories something that students are working towards demonstrating as well?
Yes, those are our institutional student learning outcomes. And then embedded within those outcomes are competencies and skills, and then the AAC&U dimensions that we use to measure them. So being consistent with those outcomes, we even had a conversation about our employee evaluations aligning with knowledge, involvement, and application. So it's just woven into the fabric of what we do, and not an external box to check for assessment, which is kind of historically what it had been.
Right.
And I do have an amazing team, including a new assessment director, which really we collaborated to drive a lot of this change that we're seeing in action now.
Wonderful. And I had a question for you too. So I know many institutions kind of wrestle with, um, how structured the maybe the prompts or templates that students are given need to be in order for them to kind of be able to see demonstration of their outcomes in various courses or learning experiences that they've had. And how does how are some of your kind of champion faculty members there approaching that? Have you seen them kind of try some different structures or approaches to kind of pulling that information out of their students, and what that process has been like?
Yes, students always want a model. And so many of our faculty champions have gone in and made their own ePortfolio to share a
Mm-hmm.
model of what this can look like and also to sort of stumble through the technology and learn a new platform. There's
Mm-hmm.
always a learning curve there. So that has certainly driven a lot of this work as well.
That's great. So it sounds like when they approach it with their students, they've got some personal knowledge of the platform. You mentioned that they've got tutors that come in and may be available to provide some initial training for the students. How are the students then supported when they start creating their own e-portfolios? Is it something that faculty are really doing within their classrooms, or are there other kinds of resources for the
Other
students?
than the embedded tutors, we don't have a ton of other resources. I'm hoping that our student employees actually will create some videos, some how-to prompts, and tutorials for the students. Right now, our prompts are very open-ended. Upload an artifact of your work that demonstrates an alignment or demonstrates a dimension and a competency, and articulate how and why that exists. And that's the extent of our instruction right now. So what is consistent are the outcomes, the competencies, and the skills, and then the instructions are really quite open-ended. And we'll see how that goes. So far, so
Yeah,
good. Certainly, we can improve and iterate with each student feedback we get as well.
yeah. Well, and I was going to say too, so far so good, because it seems like the students have been able to embrace that kind of open-ended question and approach that and respond in very creative ways.
Yeah.
They're all choosing very different types of artifacts and presenting it in different ways. They're beautifully designed ePortfolios. The ones that I saw included a lot of media and alongside the reflections that they were writing towards the outcomes. So they seem quite comfortable in that environment. And I know in your role that a lot of your kinds of focus, and maybe this goes back to some of your early kind of studies in gender politics and gender studies, that there seems to be this thread of interest, and it's something that's very near and dear to our hearts at Digication too, around this kind of theme around belonging for the students and finding their place within the kind of institutional fabric, finding their community at the same time that they're starting to discover who they are and learn about all of their strengths and skills and growth along the way. I was curious, in the work that you do, are there conversations about using the ePortfolios in that way? Um, how are they maybe being coached or guided in that? Yes, we're interested in seeing your demonstration of learning outcomes, but you know, how might this be something that's of value to them beyond demonstrating that at an institutional level, how might it really benefit them as an individual?
Yeah, we share with students that it's like a living transcript. And so they are
Mhm.
able to take who they are, how they're growing, what they're working on, and bring it home and share with their family. And that's really important. And also as a job placement skill and artifact that they can bring in and link on their profile and then share with potential employers too. So certainly beyond the realm of the classroom. When you were talking, I was also thinking about how we really emphasize equity in assessment. And
Mhm.
so our multimodal authentic assessment is imperative in a classroom where the written word is not the only way to demonstrate an understanding or kind of Freudian banking model. Like, we
Yeah.
don't believe in that. It does not resonate with our learners. We're trying to, in some spaces, decolonize higher ed. And so I think Digication gives us a platform to do that and to celebrate that and to enhance many ways of knowing and being, and especially at an institution with a third of our population as multilingual learners, to allow our students to think in their native language and to celebrate and ideate and demonstrate their understanding in their native language. Education can do that, and it's really remarkable. We're grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you think of some examples where you've kind of seen that come to light in some of the student portfolios that have been created?
We tried really hard with some of our ESL instructors to integrate the ePortfolio, and it was not as successful. And actually, we've had some conversations about offering instructions in Spanish, and I think that would go a
Mhm.
long way. So
Mhm.
when that happens, let us know, because we really will be early adopters there. Um, so,
Noted.
yeah, Jeff and I have talked about that.
Good, good.
That would go really far in helping celebrate and champion the work of our multilingual learners in an ePortfolio. And right now, some of our earlier classes, the technology feels a little daunting, and in our later classes, our
Mhm.
students can celebrate their myriad identities in their ePortfolio. But there's some technology navigation that is required as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, and something that we've always really valued in our partnership with institutions, and including yours, is this ability to get feedback. All of that informs next steps that we take in our resources and technology development. So we love to have conversations about different ways that institutions may be approaching this, and where they may be encountering any kind of challenges and hurdles. You mentioned that you're going to be starting to use some of Digication's Cora new features that we're launching on the assessment side. And you also mentioned that faculty members are excited about the outcomes assessment, which I do have to say is a somewhat rare thing that we hear. So I would love if you could share. I know it's all very new, but if you could share a little bit about, kind of what your plans are this year and how you may be approaching that and starting to add in other kinds of functionality within Digication within your community.
Sure. So I know that faculty and excited and assessment don't always go in the
They don't
same
always go
sentence
together.
together. And
Yeah.
an added level of context here that's really important in doing this work is that when our institutional student learning outcomes were updated, it was by a group of faculty from across the institution. So with our shared leadership, and we collaborated, and the faculty sort of buy-in was really driven by faculty. And so now they want to see it work. So our shared governance model drove a lot of the change and led to this kind of whole-scale adoption and like the buy-in happened. And our faculty are also on our student learning assessment committee. So I will say, like, we have a biology faculty who is chairing that committee, and she is super excited about this year. I just met with her last week, and she's really excited.
That is fantastic. This concludes part 1 of our conversation. To hear part 2, be sure to subscribe to Digication Scholars Conversations on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Digication Scholars Conversations is brought to you by Digication, a technology platform powering the most innovative ePortfolio programs in K-12 and higher education. Our website can be found at digication.com. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for tuning in.